Welcome to the Taking Care of Tutu podcast. We're so happy today to have Christie Newsom, who is a physical therapist who does all kinds of things, but she's especially going to talk to us today about the importance of heavy weightlifting for our bone density. Welcome to our show, Christie. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your professional path and how long you've been doing what you're doing and what kind of clients you see and where you see them.
Okay. Well, I went to Pacific University in Oregon.
Are you in the hospital right now?
I am.
That's how we know she's legit, because there's legit hospital noises in the background. She's the real deal.
And they're going to test the alarm, of course. So
don't evacuate. Evacuate with your laptop if you have to evacuate.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. So I went to...
That would be a really exciting podcast. We're on the run with Christie Newsom as she evacuates.
My last internship was at Kula Hospital, and it's because the PT at the time had also gone to Pacific University. So I had the opportunity and the privilege to be here for the last 2 years the last 2 months of my schooling, and was introduced to Hawaii at that time, had never been here. And then that summer I'd always been interested in fitness. I did my doctoral thesis on Pilates and how it changed your posture and your height. And we got great results from somebody who had zero experience and only 8 sessions. And that was kind of the spark of, wow, exercise can really change things and fairly quickly. So fast forward, I ended up moving here 6 months after graduation because I got a job offer. And I ended up meeting a local boy, and here I still am 23 years later. And I've spent most of my career here. I had a clinic in Kihei for about 20 years, outpatient clinic, and saw all kinds of folks. But
physical therapy
correct.
clinic.
Correct. Yep. And did the staff thing, but I've always lived up country. And when my son was born, I started working up at the Kula Clinic and started a satellite clinic about 14 years ago. And then over the years, I just decided, I would prefer to be up country, closer to home. And so 2.5 years ago, I sold the Kihei outpatient clinic, the Kihei physical therapy clinic.
Everyone has been telling people who are older, walk. And walking is important and it is great, but that's not necessarily going to help people's muscles in their shoulders or other places.
Correct. And osteoporosis really attacks the spine and the hips. And to be honest, most of us just don't have strong enough hips, particularly women. And, if you look at the statistics, it's fairly common for women to either fall and break a hip and or need a hip replacement. Some of that's congenital, of course. But for the most part, a lot of that can be prevented with strength training, right?
Wow.
And so the next big milestone is when people go through menopause and start noticing aches and pains and, a variety of other reasons, of other symptoms, but a lot of it can be remedied with strength training. And so that is really when people notice it and start taking action, right? And it's the beauty of strength training is it's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be, 99 years old and you'll still build muscle. It's a wonderful thing.
That's wonderful. And then you said our hips are weak, and that's because we're sitting so much as a society.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. They're just very underutilized. They're humongous muscle groups, and they, are the hamstrings, which is the back of the thigh, and the glutes or the hips are really what hold us upright. And often, nobody wants to be that forward, stooped over person, but if we're sitting on our bums all day, then they're not getting strong. So
Okay, so someone would come in and do an assessment, and then
Mhm.
you would um, pick a starter lower weight for them.
Correct.
So just to get the form correct.
Correct. Yeah. So the assessment is height and a couple of just general things, grip strength.
I
You
had to
know,
work on my grip strength.
yeah, it's a very, now they're saying that that is one of the markers of longevity because, and especially for women, as we get older, we're typically not as strong in our upper body as well. And so the grip strength can go. And so, hanging onto a bar is very applicable to the to
Yes,
grip
Christie
strength.
had me hang on a bar. And I was also thinking even like lifting the weights themselves is helpful
Correct.
for grip strength because you're having to lift it up. And
Yes.
for me, it was so different. Like a lot of women are doing like Pilates or bar classes, and those are wonderful. But in a bar class, you're lifting like a 1 pound weight 50 times or something like that. And so this was really different than I think a lot of what has been taught to us. Like the heavy lifting is different than a lot of what is out there.
It absolutely is. And it's very awkward and uncomfortable, even for me as a trained physical therapist. I mean, I was taught in school to, do the walking and the swimming. And now all this research is coming out that, no, in a very controlled setting, we need to educate people to lift heavier weights. And so, particularly for women, like you said, we're used to doing low impact, low weight, higher repetition. And this is completely the opposite, right? We're
Yes.
doing only 5 repetitions, which seems just in itself like, really? And you're doing 5 sets. And so part of the assessment is explaining and getting the form of the 4 lifts, as well as figuring out what weight we should start at. And
Yeah.
so um, I don't have everyone do a 1 rep max as far as, that basically means lift as heavy as you can, and to failure, that's not safe. And nor would that induce a lot of trust. I'm trying to get people to buy in, right? So the assessment is part of, okay, well, let's look for, I like to call it the reps in reserve. On the 3rd repetition, you're feeling, oh, this is kind of getting heavy. 4, I really want to put this down. Number 5, yep, I'm getting pretty close. And
Yeah.
at that 5th repetition, you should have only what we say 2 to 3 reps in reserve. If I asked you, you could only do 7 or 8 total, right? And so that in itself, for most of us, is difficult to wrap our brains around because it's just not something we're used to doing as women.
There was another thing I thought was really surprising, which was you had us jump and land with our legs straight. And
Yeah,
that was also like very difficult I mean, our whole lives we have been trained the opposite way. And um that was, I think, really challenging to like, what? We're supposed to land with straight legs. So when you talk
correct.
about like what is the medical reason for that?
Sure. Yes. So the whole class, the certain exercises are all based around loading your spine, right? And doing it in really optimal posture, good posturing. Now, there's more mainstream research as far as jumping and all these vibration plates and this sort of thing, to get more input to your spine to build more bone. Because for what it's worth, unfortunate or fortunate, we do tend to lose a little bit of height as we age, just because the discs are less viscous. Some of it's just adaptive because we have poor posture,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
So a lot of that, can be changed because people just have muscle imbalances, right? Now, there is a fair amount of research that says the more we jump, and as a sidebar, I can get into that, but one of the first things we lose as we age is power, right? The quickness, the
Mhm.
strength. And so jumping fits into that little box. It's not something we do often as we age.
Right.
And so part of the program is to do just that. Use a bar to assist you to get your feet off the ground if you need to, or just rise up onto your toes and then flat foot land on your heel. And the reverberation of that tells your body, okay, we're being used.